Okay, so like everyone's been asking for a deep dive on Omnicom, and their latest earnings call, well, let me tell you, it's packed with insights.
Yeah, it's more than just numbers in a report. This is about where advertising is going,
Mm,
like what's changing, what's working.
exactly. We're talking about the future of how businesses connect with, well, all of us, really.
Absolutely. And for businesses listening, this is like a sneak peek into what your competitors are thinking, what they're investing in.
So first things first, Omnicom had a killer Q3, right? 6.5% organic growth. That's huge.
It is. And, the way they got that growth, that's what I find really interesting. This isn't just about like traditional ads anymore.
Right. It's not just billboards and TV spots, although they still do that, of course. But they're growing in all these different directions, it seems.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, they're doing a lot with media buying, for one, and experiential marketing. You know those cool interactive campaigns you see, like at the Olympics?
Oh, yeah, those are big now.
Yeah, well, that's often Omnicom behind those. And get this, they're even doing something called precision marketing, which sounds incredibly high tech.
And that's the key here. Clients, especially the big global brands, they're not looking for separate agencies for every little thing anymore. They want integrated solutions.
Makes sense. One-stop shopping, streamlined.
Exactly. And Omnicom, they seem to have recognized this shift early on. Their whole structure is set up for collaboration,
Yeah.
across different teams and disciplines. And it seems to be giving them an edge.
It's like they're not just selling services, they're selling an entire ecosystem.
Right, exactly. And speaking of ecosystems, we got to talk about the elephant, or should I say the Amazon-shaped package, in the room. Omnicom Media Group just snagged Amazon's media business in the Americas.
Wow, yeah, that's massive. And this wasn't just any deal, it was like the media pitch of the year.
Exactly. And it really highlights this idea of like deeper collaboration,
Right.
between these giants. It's not just about buying ad space anymore. It's more strategic.
So, how does this affect the average person, the average business owner, you might be asking? Well, remember that e-commerce company Omnicom acquired Flywheel?
I do. Yeah, they were doing some really interesting things with e-commerce data.
Right. Well, they've joined forces with Omnicom Media Group, and get this, they can now directly measure those online sales that are generated from, all those media campaigns they're running across different platforms.
Wow. So they can track the entire customer journey from that first impression, maybe on your social media feed, all the way to the final buy now click.
You got it. They cracked the code. And I bet other companies are like scrambling to catch up, but that kind of data analysis, that takes some serious tech.
Which brings us to Omnicom's investments.
Right, because they're not just buying up companies, they're pouring money into like AI and automation. Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because this isn't about keeping up with the industry. This is about staying ahead of the curve.
Mm.
Think about it. AI can analyze huge amounts of data, find patterns, even optimize campaigns in like real time, right?
Mhm.
In ways that humans just, we can't compete with that.
Yeah.
It's like having a whole team of marketing geniuses working around the clock, constantly tweaking and refining your message. And this isn't science fiction. This is happening right now.
Yeah, it's already happening. And it's not just, about making things faster or cheaper. AI can actually help marketers come up with better ideas, more creative campaigns by finding things in the data that, like, a human might miss.
Right, like giving marketers superpowers.
Mm.
But with all this talk about AI and automation, it makes you wonder about, the role of people in all of this. Like, are humans even going to be needed in advertising anymore?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, it's something that Omnicom seems very aware of,
Yeah.
because throughout this whole earnings call, they kept emphasizing talent, like finding and keeping the best creative people out there.
Which makes sense, right? Because even with the most amazing AI, you still need those human insights, that creativity to come up with like those big ideas that really grab people.
It's that combination.
Yeah.
Human creativity plus AI's power.
Yeah.
And you know what? That actually brings us to another interesting point from this report. Omnicom's doing some restructuring. They're creating this thing called the Omnicom Advertising Group, OAG for short.
Catchy. So what is it? What does it do?
Basically, they're taking all their different creative agencies and putting them together under this like one umbrella, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Omnicom Production, which is, it's pretty much what it sounds like. They're streamlining all their production stuff.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of reorganizing, bringing everyone together. Makes sense. But why? What's the strategy there?
2 words: integration and efficiency. By bringing everything together like this, they're aiming to, eliminate things they don't need, share resources better, just make the whole organization more agile and responsive.
It's like they're fine-tuning the machine, right?
Yeah, exactly. So everything runs smoother,
Yeah.
teams can collaborate better. And for their clients, well, it's easier to tap into all that expertise that Omnicom has. But here's the thing. While they are centralizing some things, they also keep talking about how important it is to maintain the unique identity and culture of each of their agencies.
Okay, so they don't want to become like this big homogenous blob, but rather like a network of really distinct, I don't know, creative powerhouses all working together towards this like shared goal.
You got it. They get that each agency brings its own special sauce to the table.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance between like being one company, but still celebrating what makes each part of it unique.
That's a tough balance to strike for any company, really.
Tell me about it. It really shows, though, that Omnicom understands that creativity isn't just about, algorithms and data. It's about culture. It's about people.
Totally. And it makes me think about all those external factors they mentioned, like the upcoming elections, all the uncertainty in the world right now, things they can't control, but that could really impact their business?
Well, yeah, that's the reality, isn't it? When you're operating on a global scale, there are always going to be these outside forces at play.
Yeah.
But it seems like Omnicom's approaching all of that not from a place of fear, but more from a place of, like, I don't know, almost excitement.
I get that. Like a challenge. It's refreshing, actually,
Yeah.
because instead of trying to predict the unpredictable, they're just focusing on what they can control.
Right. Building that strong foundation, investing in their people, the technology, and creating this culture that's, like, adaptable, ready for anything.
Because when it comes down to it, that's really all you can do, right? Control your own ship and be ready to adjust the sails when the wind changes.
Exactly. And that's a good lesson for any business, really, no matter what industry you're in or how big you are.
It's like they're saying, okay, so we can't control the weather, but hey, we can build a really strong ship. And you
Mhm.
know what? That kind of brings us back to you listening, right? If a company like Omnicom, this global giant, is making these kinds of moves, focusing on data, investing in all this tech, and like really putting people first, I mean, what does that tell us about where business is going in general?
I think it tells us things are changing fast. Like the old ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are like gone out the window. The companies that are going to win now, they're the ones that are like, bring on the change. Let's
Yeah.
innovate. Let's learn new stuff.
It's like we're all in this race now, but the finish line, it keeps moving, right? And to win, you got to be quick, got to be adaptable, and honestly, you got to be okay with not knowing what's going to happen next.
Exactly. I mean, this whole deep dive on Omnicom, it wasn't just about, advertising. It was about understanding these bigger trends that are like changing how we do business, period.
It's about like connecting those dots, because what's happening in one industry, it doesn't stay there, whether it's advertising, tech, even something like, I don't know, manufacturing. Those changes, they ripple out and affect everyone.
Totally. And the thing is, those ripples, they don't have to be scary. They can be like opportunities to grow, to innovate, to just rethink how we do everything.
So if you take away just one thing from this whole conversation about Omnicom, it's this. Business is changing, right? And the companies that are going to make it, they're not just keeping up, they're setting the pace.
And that's a challenge we should all be like fired up about.
Totally. So keep asking those questions, keep exploring, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, happy diving.